Ayalon, former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister. Importantly, at this stage, also a former member you are of Avigdor Leiberman's Yisrael Beituna party. So I'll ask you about Leiberman in a moment, Danny, but give us your overall reading of the situation right now.
Well, the results has certainly been a setback for Netanyahu personally, because the entire elections was a referendum on him personally. There were no issues discussed, no vision, no policies, but it was either you're anti or for Bibi Netanyahu. So in that respect, he's much more vulnerable today than before. I think that also the tie almost between the two blocks, the right wing and left wing, is very much, I would say, characteristic now of all Western countries. You see it in Spain, in Italy, United Kingdom, United States, of course. So the only way out, I think, would be some kind of a national unity, or we go to a third election, which nobody has any appetite for because of the voters' fatigue, politicians' fatigue, and there won't be any sense for it because a third elections will end up with the same tie, with the same results.
We're talking about a government of national unity. It's then going to come down to whom the president will ask first to form that government, because it could very well be Benny Gantz. And what difference will that make to a national government that Benny Gantz is trying to put together compared to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, so far, since we have not seen anything coming out of Benny Gantz in terms of policies, he tried to really play it safe. He didn't say anything significant, so it's too early to judge. But certainly, a national unity will mitigate a lot of the Benjamin Netanyahu or Likud policies. They will have to find some kind of a middle of the road. By the way, we've had an experience before in the late 80s. We've had a national unity between Likud and Labor at the time with Shimon Peres and Shamir. And it was a good government for domestic issues, but it was a stalemate when it came to the foreign issues, foreign affairs.
What would be the main points that Avigdor Leiberman's Yisrael Beituna, your former party, would insist upon if it were to play a role in a coalition government?
Well, his agenda was, and this was new for him, he reinvented himself by calling for a new, I would say, civil agenda to minimize the power of the religious parties. But I don't see a government where he can be very influential, because there is an oxymoron here, a contradiction, because he calls for a unity government with Gantz and Bibi Netanyahu and himself. But if there is a unity government, then he is not necessary. So it's very, very complicated situation. He can only play a part if there won't be a full unity. For instance, if only part of Benny Gantz's party and Likud will join forces. The Benny Gantz is vulnerable on the one side of the aisle, because they are kind of a coalition of three different parties with not too much in common. On the other hand, Netanyahu is vulnerable because of his legal situation. So there's going to be a lot of arm twisting, and right now every scenario is possible.
Tell me something when it comes to the projections of the seats that Likud could possibly win and that Yisrael Beituna might possibly win. And the key word I want to put to you is Zionism. In the United States, they talk about this word all the time. They say, I can be against Zionism, but still support Israel. There's a word, Zionism, that incites a lot of emotion in people when they think about the Middle East and they think about the peace process, they think about the Palestinians. Is this result, as we're looking at the projections, either a rejection or an appreciation of Zionism, or is it neither?
Well, I think there is a lot of misunderstanding. What is Zionism? It came from the name of Zion. Zion is Israel in the Bible. This is, by the way, why so many Christians and the evangelical Christians in particular are so much supporting Israel, because for them Zion is God-given and fulfillment of prophecy and all that. So in Israel, almost by definition, I think even before, every Jew is by definition a Zionist, because every Jew, calls for next year in Jerusalem. This is Zionism. Every Jew calls for, strengthening the state of Israel or believing in the Bible.
I get
Zion,
that. I get all of that, Danny, but surely
mentioned.
you appreciate also the other emotions that come with that word when it's said regarding the people who are affected by Israeli politics as well, of course, clearly the Arabs. And when Benjamin Netanyahu uses the word Zionism, as he has done throughout the campaign and after the vote as well, he's clearly appealing to one particular type of Israeli, right?
Yes, yes. Zionism has been used maybe almost too much on both sides of the divide. But one thing is certain here, that the Arab parties have had a big gain. They are basically the third largest party. So in case of a coalition between, or what we call like cohabitation in France, the national unity, then they will become the head of the opposition. For the first time in Israel's history. So I think there is a lot of empowerment now to the Arab population, and for once they came out to vote, and their turnout was almost equal as the Jewish turnout, which made the results so, I would say, so evident and so forceful. And I hope this will be a bridge to a much more participation of the Arab constituency, the Arab population in the Israeli scenes, whether it's in politics, and they're already coming more and more into the judicial system and business and even the high tech. So this may be a good sign.
Danny, thank you so much indeed for your time. Danny Ayalon, former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister, speaking to us from Tel Aviv.